Welcome, curious minds and keen analysts, to The Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into a sector that's, well, not just growing, but really exploding with relevance and potential.
It really is. The scale is just immense.
Wait, did you know that in calendar year 2022, global e-waste hit a record?
Hmm.
An astounding 60 billion kilograms.
60 billion. It's almost hard to visualize. That's like, what, 60,000 Eiffel Towers worth of discarded electronics in 1 year.
Exactly, just piled up. But here's maybe an even more impactful number for you, especially thinking about solutions. Choosing a professionally refurbished laptop. That can cut its carbon footprint by a whopping 250 to 330 kilograms of CO2 equivalent.
That's a truly powerful comparison. It immediately highlights the huge environmental dividends, right? But also the economic opportunities here.
Absolutely. The sheer scale of e-waste alone is a massive global challenge.
Monumental. And any solution that tackles it head on while also offering significant economic value, well, that's inherently critical, isn't it?
Precisely. And that's exactly why we're here today. This isn't just about, secondhand goods in the old sense.
No, far from it.
It's a really dynamic market. It sits right at that intersection of economic viability, cutting-edge tech innovation, and, crucially, those big global sustainability goals everyone's focused on.
A convergence point.
Right. So for you, our dedicated analyst community, our mission today is pretty clear. We're going to unpack the comprehensive Electronics Refurbishment Industry Report by One Lattice. It was published July 4, 2025.
A very timely report.
Indeed. And this deep dive is custom-tailored for you. We want to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge about this industry's, frankly, immense growth potential, but also, crucially, the significant risks and challenges shaping its future.
Understanding both sides of that coin is key for any analyst.
We'll help you understand not just the what, but the underlying why it matters for your strategic insights, your models, your investment decisions.
And getting a handle on those broader macroeconomic forces is absolutely crucial. It's fascinating how these global economic trends aren't just, background noise.
They directly feed into it.
They directly feed into, and I'd even say accelerate, the demand for refurbished electronics.
Okay, so let's kick things off right there, the macro picture. We've seen some pretty robust global GDP projections. They seem to lay a very strong foundation for this industry.
You really do.
The report indicates global GDP is expected to rise at a COBGR compound annual growth rate of 4.5% from CY24 to CY29.
Right, 4.5%. And that's building on, what was it, a 4.1% CAGR in the previous period, CY18 to CY29.
That's it, eventually reaching an estimated US $137.8 trillion by CY29.
Yeah.
Huge numbers. But beyond just bigger numbers, what does this actually mean on the ground for electronics demand?
Right.
Especially for these refurbished options.
Well, this macroeconomic expansion isn't just academic theory, right? It fundamentally reshapes consumer purchasing power globally.
More disposable income.
Exactly. Rising global GDP directly translates to increased disposable income. And as people have more financial flexibility, they naturally look to upgrade their tech. Personal use, business use, you name it.
But it's not just about buying brand new.
That's the strategic point here. It doesn't automatically mean only new electronics. Instead, it significantly broadens the market for all electronics, and that explicitly includes these value-oriented, refurbished options.
So consumers are getting savvier, balancing cost and function.
I think so. They're balancing that initial cost with long-term functionality, reliability. And this trend is further supported by the growth in world GDP per capita. That's projected to grow at a CGR of 3.6% during CY24-29.
Reaching what figure?
Reaching about US $10,605 per capita. So for you analysts, this points to a growing global middle class. Eager for technology, yes, but often quite price sensitive.
Making refurbishment a really powerful entry point or upgrade path.
Precisely. It hits that sweet spot.
And within this global growth, are we seeing any particular regions really, punching above their weight? Where's the engine room for this growth located?
The report is pretty unequivocal on that. Emerging Asia is really leading the charge in GDP growth.
Okay.
It's projected to have a remarkable 4.5% year-on-year growth rate in CY25 alone.
And what's behind that strong performance?
It's not just a general rising tide. It's specifically fueled by really robust domestic consumption across the ASEAN countries. That's a significant underlying factor.
Right.
Plus, you have major economies like China and India undertaking these substantial public investments. Think infrastructure projects, digital transformation initiatives.
Things that require a lot of tech.
Exactly. It propels their economic expansion and, by extension, drives significant demand for electronics across the entire spectrum,
Yeah.
including refurbished devices for those maybe on tighter budgets or in specific sectors.
Okay, speaking of India, it really does seem to stand out in the report as a kind of microcosm of opportunity for this whole industry.
It's a fascinating case study.
Let's really get into India's economic trajectory then. Its GDP was, what, US $3.9 trillion in CY24,
Correct.
and estimated to reach US $6.1 trillion by CY29. That's growing at a remarkable CGR of 9.5%.
9.5%, that's huge.
It positions India to become the world's third largest economy by CY28, potentially. And the government's even aiming higher, targeting US $7 trillion by CY30.
Ambitious targets, but the momentum is there.
So what's really powering this incredible expansion? And how does it specifically impact the demand landscape for electronics, maybe particularly refurbished ones, in India?
India's growth story is digital leaps. It makes it a really compelling case study for market expansion.
Okay, break that down for us.
First off, the demographic dividend. It's simply enormous. You've got the 15 to 64 age group representing 68% of the population in CY24.
The core working age population.
Right, and that's projected to reach 69% by CY29. This provides a massive youthful workforce advantage, but it's not just a large pool of labor.
It's also a consumer base.
A massive, increasingly tech-savvy consumer base with evolving digital needs and aspirations.
And I imagine urbanization plays a big role, too, going hand in hand with demographics.
Precisely. That rising urban population projected to increase from around 37% in CY24 to 40% by CY29. It directly fuels demand for modern lifestyles, modern amenities.
Which means more devices.
Absolutely. Urban centers naturally drive a greater need for connected devices, more advanced consumer electronics. And tied into this, maybe even more impactful, is the explosion in internet penetration.
The numbers there are staggering, aren't they?
They really are. It surged from 528 million users, that was 41% of the population back in CY18, to 844 million users, or 58% in CY24.
Wow.
And it's expected to cross 975 million, so that's 65% of the population, by CY29.
That's an incredible leap in connectivity in just over a decade. What's been the main catalyst for that surge?
It's primarily down to two really powerful factors. First, the widespread adoption of increasingly affordable smartphones. They've just become ubiquitous.
And affordable data plans.
Exactly. Readily available, cheap mobile data plans have made internet access incredibly accessible, even in rural areas, which is key. And importantly, government initiatives like Digital India have focused heavily on improving digital infrastructure and promoting digital literacy right across the country.
Creating fertile ground for electronics consumption.
Absolutely. Whether it's new or refurbished, as more people come online, engage with digital services, education, entertainment, banking, they need devices.
So we have more people in cities, this huge surge in online engagement. This must be translating into a significant increase in consumer spending, right?
It absolutely does. You have to remember, India is fundamentally a consumer demand-driven economy. Private consumption accounts for over 60% of its GDP.
60%, that's the engine.
It is. And this private consumption is projected to exceed US $4 trillion by CY30. So for analysts listening, this means consumer demand isn't just, a side factor. It's a foundational pillar for all electronics sales.
Ensuring a continuous cycle.
A continuous cycle of purchasing and, critically, replacement and upgrades, which directly feeds that refurbishment market.
Okay, and the final piece of this India puzzle, government initiatives and foreign direct investment, FDI. But what role are they playing in this vibrant landscape?
The Indian government has been quite proactive, focusing investments in key areas that directly benefit the electronics sector. Think e-commerce enablement, digital payments infrastructure, fostering a really robust startup environment.
And the big umbrella of Digital India.
And championing that overarching Digital India initiative, yes. These create a very supportive ecosystem for technology adoption and usage. Then there's the FDI piece. We've seen an 18% increase in FDI equity inflow into the manufacturing sector in fiscal year 25.
What's attracting that investment?
It's strongly supported by policies like Make in India and also this broader China Plus One strategy you hear about.
Companies diversifying their manufacturing bases.
Exactly. Encouraging multinationals to shift manufacturing bases to India, often leveraging its lower skilled labor costs. This doesn't just boost local production and availability of
It
electronics.
potentially helps the refurbishment supply chain,
Yeah,
too.
potentially, yes. It helps create a domestic supply chain that could eventually provide more accessible components, maybe even expertise for refurbishment down the line.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, let's shift focus a bit now to the broader electronics landscape itself. The global consumer electronics market is, well, massive. The report puts it at US $246 billion in CY24,
A huge number.
with projections to reach US $1,700 billion by CY29. That's a EAAG of about 6.4%. But as you hinted earlier, that growth wasn't always smooth sailing, was it?
No, not at all. That period from CY22 to 24, for instance, saw quite muted growth. The CAGR was just 1.8%.
Why the slowdown then?
It was really a perfect storm of significant headwinds, things many of us experienced firsthand, right? The widespread chip shortage.
That impacted everything.
Everything. Lingering global supply chain disruptions from the pandemic. General economic uncertainty making consumers cautious, and also, frankly, a natural reduction in purchases after that initial pandemic surge when everyone bought laptops and webcams for remote work and learning.
Right, that initial rush had to level off.
Exactly. But that period of constraint is actually key for analysts to understand because it inherently set the stage for why refurbished electronics are now gaining significant traction.
As a more accessible, resilient alternative during volatile times.
Precisely. They offered a way to upgrade or replace without the full sticker shock.
So after weathering those headwinds, what's really igniting the market's forward momentum now? What are the catalysts?
The future growth catalysts are, quite exciting. Advancements in AI, the Internet of Things, IoT, machine learning. These are becoming embedded in more and more devices.
Driving demand for smarter tech.
Right. And the continued proliferation of smart and connected devices generally, these innovations inherently demand more sophisticated, more efficient hardware, creating a continuous upgrade cycle, which again feeds the whole ecosystem.
And in terms of market segments, where's the bulk of the value?
Smartphones remain dominant. They accounted for, 43.9% of revenue in CY24?
Almost half the market.
Yeah, with PCs and accessories being the second largest segment at 14.4%. So this highlights where the bulk of the demand lies and therefore where the biggest potential for refurbishment also sits.
Okay, let's zoom in on that PC market then, specifically in some key regions, starting with the United States. The U.S. PC market was valued at US $41 billion in CY24, projected to reach US $50 billion by CY29, a CAGR of 4.1%. What's driving that steady growth in what many consider a mature market?
The U.S. market has this unique, quite robust blend of factors driving it. You've got strong government and defense sector IT modernization efforts that drive significant demand for secure, reliable PCs. Then there are initiatives like the America Computes Act, which are fueling a STEM education push. That means more investment in computer labs, device programs in schools, creating a new generation of users.
Healthcare, too.
Healthcare digitization, yeah. Accelerated by things like the High-Tech Act, fueling demand for specialized medical-grade PCs and systems. And you can't ignore the enduring Silicon Valley effect, right?
Constant demand for high-performance machines.
Always. High-performance machines, workstations, development tools, and all the tech hubs. And finally, telecommunications overhaul. Things like FCC initiatives, expanding broadband in rural areas. That creates new demand in previously underserved markets.
So a really diverse set of drivers. And mostly laptops.
Mostly laptops, yes. They made up the vast majority of the market, about US $34 billion in CY24.
And who are the dominant players capturing that share in the U.S.?
In CY24, the market was pretty concentrated among a few leaders. HP held about 26% market share, Dell had 24%, and Lenovo was at 18%.
Pretty tight at the top.
Very competitive. And they compete not just on new devices, but increasingly through strategic pricing and, for some, their own certified refurbishment programs. That's an important trend for analysts to watch.
Definitely. Okay, let's hop over to Europe. The PC market there, valued at US $39 billion in CY24, projected to US $49 billion by CY29, so a CAGR of 4.3%,
Yeah.
slightly faster than the US. Any unique trends shaping that market?
Europe presents a really interesting dynamic. One thing the report highlights is a resurgence in desktop PCs.
Desktops, really?
Yeah, it's not just nostalgia. It seems to be driven by the region's robust gaming culture, which demands powerful, customizable machines.
Right, the high-end gaming rigs.
Exactly. And also increasing demand for high-performance workstations in design, engineering, scientific research industries where raw processing power is still paramount.
Makes sense. What about the commercial side?
The commercial segment is critically significant in Europe. It accounts for 65% of sales. This reflects the prevalence of hybrid work models and those regular enterprise-level device upgrade cycles.
And what about specifically European growth drivers? Any unique policy influences?
Yes, European growth is significantly shaped by EU-specific influences and policy. You have digital skills initiatives, like the EU's Digital Education Action Plan, boosting PC demand for education and professional development.
Okay.
There's also clear remote work legislation in countries like Portugal, Spain, Italy, which accelerates the need for robust home office setups. Industry 4.0 initiatives are driving demand for high-performance workstations for manufacturing modernization.
And the Green Deal must be huge.
Absolutely critical. The EU Green Deal implementation is a powerful overarching force. It's driving demand for energy-efficient and easily recyclable PCs, particularly in environmentally conscious nations like Germany and the Nordics. That's a massive tailwind for sustainable options, including refurbishment.
And the market leaders there. Similar to the U.S.
Close. In CY23, Lenovo actually led with 27%, followed closely by HP at 26%. So again, a very tight competitive landscape.
Now let's circle back to India, where we said the PC market is really in an explosive growth phase. U.S. $9.2 billion in fiscal year 25, expected to hit U.S. $16.1 billion by FY30. That's that impressive 11.9% CAGR. What's fueling this rapid expansion on the ground?
India's PC market is definitely in a distinct, accelerated growth phase. One key trend: laptops are projected to grow significantly faster than desktops.
Reflecting that desire for portability.
Absolutely. We're looking at a 14.9% CAGR for laptops versus actually a negative 3.2% CAGR for desktops from FY 25-30. So a clear accelerating preference for portability, flexible work environments.
What about how people are buying them? Sales channels.
We're seeing a major transformation there, too. Offline retail, which used to dominate it, was 85% back in FY19, is projected to decline to 75% in FY25, and maybe even further to 55-60% by FY30.
So where's the growth? E-commerce.
E-commerce is surging. It went from 15% in FY19 to 25% in FY25, and the projection is for it to capture 40-45% of the market by FY30.
Wow, nearly half the market online. That must help the refurbished players too.
Definitely. That shift to online platforms is a key enabler for the refurbished market as well. It offers broader reach, easier price comparison, potentially more trust with established online platforms.
So a clear move towards online sales, more laptops. What are the demand dynamics themselves? Is it businesses or individuals driving this growth?
Interestingly, personal demand is actually expected to outgrow business demand. It's projected to reach 55% of the market by FY30.
So more individuals buying PCs for education, entertainment.
Exactly. It signifies a growing individual need for PCs beyond just traditional corporate use.
Yeah.
Education, entertainment, personal productivity, maybe side hustles. But here's a really crucial insight for analysts, I think.
Okay.
India's overall PC penetration is still remarkably low, only 80-95 per 1,000 people.
Compared to
750-800 in the US or 300-350 in China.
That's a massive gap.
It's huge. And it doesn't just imply raw growth potential. It suggests a market ripe for leapfrogging traditional adoption curves, maybe through mobile-first PC strategies or bundling refurbished devices with internet plans to drive initial adoption.
Signaling just massive untapped growth potential for both new and refurbished devices.
Precisely. The runway is enormous.
So what are the key underlying drivers making this happen now?
Well, many factors contribute, some we've touched on. That Digital India initiative continues to be a major force, promoting digital literacy, building infrastructure, which inherently requires devices.
The IT sector.
The booming IT and IT sector, yes. Driving demand for work-from-home setups, new employment as companies scale up. Then there's the emerging gaming and content creation industry.
Right, esports, influencers.
Exactly. That fuels demand for high-performance PCs that aren't always affordable when brand new. There's also increasing demand from MSMEs, micro, small, and medium enterprises, and small businesses generally.
Which are a huge part of India's economy.
They contribute 31% to India's GDP, and they're often very budget constrained, making refurbished options highly appealing. And finally, don't forget the Make in India initiative.
Aiming to boost local manufacturing.
Right. Limiting imports, boosting local production. That could reshape the industry by providing more affordable, domestically produced devices and, as we discussed, potentially creating a more robust supply of components for refurbishers in the long run.
And the market leaders currently in India.
For CY24, HP leads with a strong 30% share, followed by Lenovo at 17%.
Okay. This brings us perfectly to the core of our deep dive today, the refurbishment revolution itself. Before we get into the explosive growth numbers, let's clarify something absolutely crucial for our analyst community. What is the difference between used and refurbished electronics? Because it's not just semantics, is it?
No, it's a critical distinction, and you're right, it's far from just semantics. Used electronics are simply resold as.
Meaning no checks, no repairs.
Exactly. They haven't undergone any formal inspection, testing, or repairs. They're sold in whatever condition they're in, often with no warranty at all. Their reliability can be, frankly, a gamble.
Okay, so what makes refurbished different?
Refurbished electronics, on the other hand, undergo a rigorous multi-step process. This includes thorough inspection, comprehensive testing, and any necessary repairs to meet specific operational standards.
So fixing things, replacing parts.
Definitely. It often involves software reinstallation. Replacing parts could be batteries, screens, keyboards, and sometimes even cosmetic enhancements to make sure they look and perform much closer to new. And crucially,
The warranty.
they typically come with a warranty. That provides a vital layer of confidence for the buyer. This distinction is fundamental because it speaks directly to quality, reliability, and ultimately consumer trust and perceived value.
And the report points out something interesting, that this industry is uniquely placed to grow even in down cycles of economic growth. Why is it so resilient compared to, say, the market for new electronics?
It really comes down to its inherent value proposition and its market position. When economies face headwinds, when inflation bites, or when disposable incomes get tighter,
People look for savings.
naturally, consumers seek more affordable solutions, but they don't want to compromise entirely on functionality or reliability. Refurbishment perfectly serves this replacement and upgrade demand. It offers high-quality, reliable technology at a significantly lower price point than new devices.
It sort of democratizes access to tech.
In a way, yes. It makes modern tech accessible even when budgets are constrained. So it's resilient because it provides that pathway to technology adoption that's more economically sustainable, especially during tougher times.
Okay, let's talk numbers then for this explosive global refurbishment market growth. The overall market that's used and refurbished grew from U.S. $159.2 billion back in CY18 to U.S. $212.1 billion in CY24. That was a 4.9% CAGR.
Respectable growth.
But the projection is for dramatic acceleration, reaching U.S. $352.4 billion by CY29 at a robust 10.7% CAGR going forward. And here's what seems like the critical insight for analysts. The refurbished segment specifically is significantly outpacing the simply used segment. Can you unpack that?
This is really where the core story and the strategic opportunity lies. The refurbished segment, just on its own, saw an impressive 10.7% CAGR from CY18-24, reaching U.S. $110.6 billion.
Okay, already strong.
But the acceleration projected is truly dramatic. It's expected to hit an even more robust 17.4% CAGR from CY24-29,
17.4%.
reaching U.S. $246.7 billion by CY29. This significant outperformance of professionally refurbished over simply used signals a clear fundamental market shift.
What does that shift tell us?
It indicates, I think, a maturing consumer base, one that's increasingly discerning, valuing quality assurance, reliability, the warranty over just the absolute lowest cost. This isn't some fleeting secondhand fad.
It's a structural change.
It suggests a strong long-term shift towards professionalized refurbishment services as a legitimate, trusted alternative to buying new.
Let's dive deeper into some key product categories within this, starting with PCs. The global used and refurbished PCs market was U.S. $37.2 billion in CY24, projected to hit U.S. $61.0 billion by CY29. That's a 10.4% CAGR overall. But again, the refurbished piece is growing even faster.
Indeed. Refurbished PCs specifically, valued at U.S. $17.1 billion in CY24, are expected to grow at that even higher 18.9% CAGR.
Reaching over U.S. $40 billion.
Reaching U.S. $40.6 billion by CY29. Why? Largely because they offer genuinely comparable performance and often aesthetics to new models, but for, less than half the price typically.
How do they achieve that?
Through thorough replacement or repair of hardware, software components, meticulous testing, and those cosmetic enhancements we talked about to give them a really new appearance and feel. The increased consumer acceptance, driven by better product quality and these advanced refurbishment techniques, is key here.
So for analysts,
For analysts, this points to a really robust segment, where that value proposition quality at a lower price clearly trumps the new premium for a growing number of users: students, small businesses, even some enterprise segments.
what about this other category I mentioned? Open box PCs. That sounds distinct.
That's right, it's a specific category. Open box PCs are distinct because they are units that were maybe returned shortly after purchase unsealed, perhaps used briefly, but returned within the warranty period.
But essentially still new.
Functionally, yes.
Right.
They maintain the exact same performance standards as brand new units. They're just offered at a discount because they're not factory sealed anymore. This makes them an extremely attractive option for budget-conscious consumers seeking virtually new, high-quality electronics without paying the full price tag.
So a sort of middle ground. What's the market size there?
That market was valued at US $5.1 billion in CY24 and is expected to grow at a CGR of 7.1% to reach US $7.2 billion by CY29. It reflects their appeal as that best of both worlds option for some buyers.
Okay. And smartphones, especially premium ones, must be a huge dynamic part of this whole refurbishment market.
Absolutely massive. The global used and refurbished premium smartphones market was US $111.3 billion in CY24,
Wow, over $100 billion just for premium used and refurb phones.
projected to reach US $203.3 billion by CY29. That's a 12.8% CAGR overall. But again, within this, the refurbished premium smartphones are growing even faster at 15.8% CAGR.
Why is that premium refurbished segment so hot?
It's particularly appealing because it offers access to the latest high-end features, the flagship devices everyone wants, but at a significant fraction of the original cost.
Getting the aspirational tech without the aspirational price tag.
Exactly, and critically, often with the added peace of mind of a warranty from the refurbisher. This combination of affordability, desirable features, and reliability assurance is driving significant market share capture, especially as you noted earlier, when new phone models often offer only quite incremental upgrades year on year.
Makes the value prop of refurbished even stronger. We're also seeing interesting growth cited for high-value spare parts. Why is that important for the overall refurbishment ecosystem?
That's a really interesting angle. The report indicates the high-value spare parts market is expected to grow at a 9.5% CAGR during CY24-29, reaching US $6.1 billion.
Why is that significant?
Its growth is significant because it reflects a broader shift in both consumer behavior and industry capabilities. Many users are now opting to upgrade individual components, maybe swap out a hard drive for an SSD, add more RAM, upgrade a graphics card in their existing systems, rather than buying entirely new ones.
More cost-effective and greener.
Both. It aligns perfectly with the core ethos of refurbishment by extending the lifespan of existing devices and reducing demand for entirely new units. It supports the whole repair and upgrade ecosystem.
Now, beyond the pure economics, this sustainability mandate seems like a powerful, almost undeniable growth driver for this industry. How does refurbishment specifically tie into major global sustainability goals like the UN's SDGs?
It connects in very tangible ways to multiple UN Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. Specifically, you look at SDG 9, Industry, Innovation, and Infrastructure. Refurbishment fosters sustainable industrial growth and enhances that crucial recycling infrastructure.
Okay.
SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. It benefits by significantly reducing e-waste, contributing to cleaner, healthier urban environments. SDG 12, Responsible Consumption and Production. This is a direct hit.
Promoting reuse and repair.
Exactly. Emphasizing reuse and repair over disposal, promoting genuinely sustainable consumption patterns, extending product life cycles, and perhaps most critically for our climate, SDG 13, Climate Action.
How does it help there?
It's powerfully supported by lowering the demand for new, highly energy-intensive manufacturing processes. That, in turn, drastically reduces the overall carbon footprint of electronics consumption.
And what about the impact of major global climate commitments like those coming out of COP28?
Yeah.
Are they directly influencing this sector?
Absolutely. COP28 saw nearly 200 countries make these ambitious, though technically non-binding, commitments. Things like achieving net zero emissions by CY50, tripling renewable energy capacity by CY30.
Big goals.
Huge goals. And they underscore the absolute necessity of resource efficiency and extending product life cycles across all industries, not just electronics. Refurbishment fits this mandate perfectly. It drastically reduces the need for raw material extraction. It cuts down on that energy-intensive new production.
Both highly carbon-intensive processes.
Exactly. So it's a pragmatic, immediate way for the tech sector and for consumers to contribute to these large-scale climate targets.
This ties directly into that escalating global e-waste crisis we mentioned at the start. That CY22 figure of roughly 60 billion kilograms, with only about 20% formally recycled. It's alarming. How does refurbishment offer a concrete solution here?
The e-waste crisis isn't just alarming. It's a rapidly growing environmental catastrophe. Refurbishment is a crucial, high-impact solution. It directly diverts vast quantities of functional or repairable devices from landfills and those often harmful informal recycling streams.
Keeping valuable materials in circulation.
Precisely. By extending the life of devices through reuse and by carefully recycling components that can't be reused, it conserves valuable resources and offers substantial environmental value. It avoids the emissions, the water use, the habitat destruction associated with extracting raw materials and manufacturing brand new items.
It's not just waste management.
No, it's about fundamentally rethinking our consumption patterns, creating a truly circular flow of materials, getting the most value out of what we've already produced.
And that carbon footprint impact really brings it home. A new laptop generates, what, approximately 1,200 kilograms of CO2 equivalent?
Right, around 1,200 kilograms, and a staggering 80% of those emissions come from the manufacturing phase alone.
80%. Just making the thing.
Exactly. Whereas a professionally refurbished one avoids around 250 to 330 kilograms of CO2 equivalent compared to making a new one.
That's a clear economic and environmental win-win.
It's a stark and compelling comparison that should resonate with every analyst listening. When you realize manufacturing is such a disproportionately large part of a new device's total environmental impact, choosing refurbished means you're almost entirely bypassing that most resource-intensive, energy-intensive phase.
It's a powerful step towards a true circular economy.
Moving us away from that unsustainable take, make, dispose linear model that's dominated for so long. Refurbishment keeps products and materials in use longer, extracting maximum value before they become waste.
Okay, beyond the crucial environmental benefits, there's also a clear economic value proposition to refurbishment, not just for the environment, but for businesses, consumers, the broader economy. How does it make sense financially?
Well, from a consumer and business perspective, the affordability is obviously paramount. Refurbished devices typically being 40–50% cheaper than comparable new products.
That makes high-quality tech accessible to a much wider audience.
Absolutely. It democratizes tech access for individuals, students, startups, small and medium-sized enterprises who might otherwise struggle. But it's not just about cheaper goods. The sector itself is a significant job creator.
Creating skilled jobs.
Yes. For instance, the National Recycling Coalition estimates that recycling alone generates 1.1 million jobs and about US $37 billion in annual payroll just in the US. Refurbishment specifically requires highly skilled labor for inspection, complex L1, L3 repairs, meticulous testing. It enhances workforce capabilities and creates sustainable, skilled employment.
And what about conserving those critical resources, particularly those rare earth minerals everyone talks about?
It dramatically cuts the carbon footprint, as we said, by avoiding that energy-intensive new manufacturing, but it also critically reduces reliance on finite raw materials, things like yttrium, lanthanum, cerium, terbium.
The elements crucial for modern electronics.
Crucial and often geopolitically sensitive or environmentally damaging to extract. By extending the life of devices containing these materials, we reduce the need to constantly mine more, preserving natural capital and potentially easing supply chain vulnerabilities.
Are there any compelling corporate examples that really highlight this value proposition in action? Big companies embracing this.
Yes, definitely. Several leading companies are actively embracing this, often very publicly. Apple, for instance, in CY23, reported diverting an impressive 12.8 million devices and accessories for reuse,
Preventing waste.
preventing over 3 million metric tons of waste from entering landfills, according to their figures. Another example cited is CertiDeal, a European refurbisher. They calculated they prevented 7.5 million tons of CO2 equivalent emissions by extending the lifespan of the smartphones they handled.
So real measurable impact.
Exactly. These examples demonstrate that robust sustainability initiatives and strong economic viability can, and frankly must, go hand in hand. For analysts, this signals that major corporations are seeing tangible business value in integrating these circular economy principles. It's not just PR.
Right. Okay, let's move to some specific regional refurbishment market spotlights now. Let's start back in the USA. The U.S. market grew from U.S. $44.8 billion in CY18 to U.S. $54.8 billion in CY24. That was a 3.4% CAGR. Expected to reach U.S. $74.4 billion by CY29, accelerating to a 6.3% CAGR.
Okay, in the US, the PC segment within the refurbishment market is highly significant. It was valued at US $10.2 billion in CY24.
And growing.
Projected to reach US $15.8 billion by CY29, which is a solid 9.2% CAGR. But remember that trend, the refurbished subsegment within PCs is growing even faster at 17.4%. That's crucial for pinpointing specific investment opportunities.
And who dominates the market structure? Organized players.
Yes, organized players definitely dominate the U.S. market. They accounted for approximately 75% of the market in CY24, and that's expected to increase to around 90% by CY29.
What does that tell us?
It reflects growing consumer trust in professional refurbishers, their warranties, their quality standards. However, interestingly, the market remains highly fragmented.
Meaning no single big winner yet.
Exactly. The report states no single player holds more than a 5% share. This fragmentation indicates significant opportunity, either for consolidation amongst existing players or for a few key players to rapidly expand their market share through strong branding, consistent quality, and efficient operations.
And how has market penetration for refurbished electronics actually changed over time in the U.S.? Are more people buying them?
Yes, the share of used and refurbished PCs in the USA has shown a gradual but steady increase. It went from 16.9% of the total PC market back in CY18 to 19.9% in CY24.
And projected to keep rising.
Projected to reach 24.0% by CY29, so nearly a quarter of the market. This steady rise indicates a meaningful and sustained shift in consumer behavior, moving away from skepticism towards acceptance and seeing it as a viable option.
What about smartphones in the U.S. refurb market?
For premium smartphones, that market was US $28.2 billion in CY24, projected to reach US $40.1 billion by CY29. That's a 7.3% CAGR. It's driven significantly by those enhanced refurbishment techniques that can now offer devices in varying, clearly defined quality conditions like excellent, good, fair, giving consumers more choice and transparency.
Let's talk about the selling side for consumers. What's the economic value proposition when someone in the U.S. is looking to get rid of their old device? The report seems to present a very clear choice.
It really does. The report clearly outlines the superior benefits of selling to a professional refurbishing player versus, say, a traditional scrap dealer. The value difference is stark.
Give us an example.
Okay, for an iPhone 12 64GB model, a refurbisher might offer around US $740, a scrap dealer. Maybe half a dollar, US $1.50.
Wow. And for a laptop?
For something like a MacBook Air, maybe US $325 from a refurbisher versus perhaps US $2 from a scrap dealer just looking at material weight.
So the financial difference is huge. But it's more than just money.
Much more. Beyond the obvious financial return, professional refurbishing players typically offer a hassle-free experience collection, logistics. Crucially, they offer guaranteed secure data handling, addressing that major privacy concern. And of course, selling to them directly contributes to environmental sustainability through reuse.
Versus the scrap dealer.
Scrap dealers often overlook the intrinsic value of the internal components. They might have limited logistics, and they pose substantially higher risks regarding data security if they're not handling drives properly, and potential environmental harm from improper disposal if they just shred everything without proper downstream tracking. Understanding this full life cycle value chain is crucial for analysts.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move across the Atlantic now. The European refurbishment market. Valued at US $66.7 billion in CY24, expected to reach US $93.5 billion by CY29, growing at a 7.0% CAGR. Similar trends to the US, or are there distinct drivers over there?
Europe shares some of those growth trends, yes, but it also has some extremely strong proactive policy drivers that differentiate it significantly.
Okay, let's look at the PC segment first.
The PC segment in Europe, valued at US $9.3 billion in CY24, is projected to reach US $14.3 billion by CY29. That's an 8.9% CAGR, and again, mirroring the global trend, refurbished PCs within that are dominating the growth, projected at a 15.2% CAGR.
And the market structure, organized players dominating too. too.
Yes, organized players are also expected to dominate in Europe, reaching approximately 90% of the market by CY29. That's up from around 60% back in CY18. So that signals a rapid professionalization of the market, similar to the US, but often, as I said, propelled quite directly by specific legislation.
Right, Europe seems to be really at the forefront of policy and regulatory support for refurbishment and broader circular economy principles. That must be a massive tailwind for the industry there.
It's an absolutely critical factor for analysts to consider. It acts almost as a leading indicator of market direction globally in some ways. France, for example, has its anti-waste law mandating a repairability index.
That 1 to 10 score on products.
Exactly, for products like smartphones, laptops, and they're soon introducing a durability index too. Crucially, French legislation mandates that 20% of IT devices bought by organizations must be refurbished,
20% mandated.
with a target of 40% by 2040. And for the public sector, it's even more stringent, aiming for up to 50% refurbished procurement by 2025.
It's huge enforced demand. Any other examples?
Ireland's government aims for 80% refurbished ICT end-user products by 2025 under its Buying Greener strategy. These aren't just suggestions or guidelines.
They're powerful legislative mandates.
Directly driving market demand, accelerating professionalization, and creating a predictable, sustained pipeline for refurbishers. This policy certainty is a huge advantage.
What about overall market penetration in Europe for refurbished devices? How does that compare to the US?
It's fairly similar, actually. Used and refurbished PC penetration in Europe increased from 16.6% in CY18 to 19.0% in CY24. The projection is for it to reach 22.7% by CY29.
And premium smartphones.
That market is expected to grow from US $37.5 billion in CY24 to US $60.5 billion by CY29, which is a CAGR of roughly 10%. The legal and policy framework, especially around the EU Green Deal, is a significant differentiator here, creating that strong institutional push towards sustainable consumption and production practices that directly benefits the refurbishment sector.
Okay, finally, let's return to India, which we identified right at the start as that high-octane growth market for refurbishment. The overall market there, US $19.8 billion in fiscal year 25, projected to more than double to US $40.7 billion by FY30. That's that rapid 15.6% CAGR. This really does seem like maybe the biggest opportunity landscape for analysts to watch.
It absolutely is. The growth dynamics are phenomenal. Refurbished and used PCs and premium smartphones alone account for roughly 35% of this rapidly expanding market value already.
And the PC segment within that.
The PC segment is particularly strong. It stands at US $2.4 billion in FY25, projected to reach US $5.3 billion by FY30. That's a 16.8% CAGR. But the refurbished subsegment within that PC market, that's growing at an impressive CAGR of approximately 30%.
30% CAGR for refurbished PCs in India.
Phenomenal growth. Similarly, the smartphone segment is projected to grow from US $4.5 billion in FY25 to US $11.7 billion by FY30, a CAGR of around 21%. And refurbished smartphones are expected to comprise roughly 66%, two-thirds, of that entire used refurbished smartphone market value by FY30.
66%. That's up from
just about 13% back in FY19.
That's a massive, almost seismic shift towards refurbished smartphones in India. And the report highlights a significant concurrent shift happening in the market structure from unorganized to organized players.
This is a critical trend, maybe the critical trend for investors and businesses looking at India. It represents a massive opportunity for structured businesses. The unorganized players, the small local shops, they dominated with 95% market share back in FY19.
But that's changing rapidly.
They are projected to see a significant decline in market share. Conversely, the organized segment of the professional refurbishers with proper processes, warranties, branding is surging. It's growing from just 13% market share in FY25 to a projected 40% by FY30.
That's a CAGR of
A staggering CAGR of approximately 46% for the organized segment. This highlights a rapid professionalization driven by consumers demanding reliability, transparent pricing, warranties, the quality assurance that only organized players can consistently provide.
and overall penetration. Still lots of room to grow.
Still plenty of room. Overall penetration for used and refurbished PCs is expected to increase from 19% in FY19 to about 25% by FY30, still lower than the US or Europe, indicating that headroom for growth remains substantial.
And what about the Indian government's role in all of this? Are there key initiatives actively driving this growth and this formalization of the market?
Yes, Absolutely. India's government isn't just letting this happen, it's actively and strategically promoting refurbishment and broader circular economy principles. The Extended Producer Responsibility Framework, EPR, is absolutely key here.
How does EPR help refurbishers?
It mandates producers, the original manufacturers, to manage the entire product life cycle. It sets rigorous collection targets for e-waste. For example, 60% collection rate by FY 23-25, rising to 80% by FY 27-28. This directly creates a structured, reliable supply of used devices and materials flowing back into the system for refurbishers. It also significantly enhances the credibility and legitimacy of refurbishers operating within this formal framework.
Are there other relevant policies?
Yes, there's the National Resource Efficiency Policy, or NREP. That encourages a circular economy more broadly, promoting higher value creation with less material input, pushing for a life cycle approach to resource management.
And that global right to repair movement we hear about, is that gaining traction in India too?
It absolutely is. India's Ministry of Corporate Affairs is proactively developing a framework specifically to empower consumers to get their electronics repaired easily and at optimal cost.
What does that involve?
It includes potentially mandating manufacturers to share crucial product details, repair manuals, diagnostic tools, and maybe supporting accredited third-party repair shops. Major brands like Samsung, HP, Dell are reportedly already in support, seeing the way things are heading.
How does that help refurbishment?
Well, this initiative not only further reduces e-waste by making repair easier, but it also fosters a more robust, more competitive repair ecosystem. And that directly strengthens the underlying infrastructure, the skills, the parts availability for the entire refurbishment industry. These policy tailwinds are really strong indicators of continued growth, formalization, and increasing consumer acceptance in India.
Okay, let's try and synthesize all these different growth factors now into a more holistic view. Beyond the macroeconomics, the regional specifics, what are the overarching strategic growth drivers that analysts should keep firmly in mind when looking at this whole industry?
Well, one of the most fundamental drivers, really underlying everything else, is just increasing digitalization, globally, but especially in markets like India.
Driven by government programs, internet access.
Yeah, exactly. Driven by pervasive government programs like Digital India, coupled with that rapidly rising internet penetration. India, for context, is ranked the third most digitized country by something called the CHPS score, which assesses digital infrastructure, connectivity, adoption rates. All this creates a continuous, evolving demand for affordable computing devices.
It's not just cities anymore either.
No, it's about bridging that digital divide, empowering rural areas, enabling access to essential digital services, banking, education, healthcare for millions. That requires devices.
And that core value proposition we touched on earlier, simple affordability remains absolutely central, doesn't it?
Absolutely central.
Mhm.
Refurbished phones, laptops, typically 40–50% cheaper than new. It just makes high-quality technology accessible to a far broader population, including those critical economic segments like MSMEs, startups operating on lean budgets.
Who might otherwise struggle with the high capex of new IT.
Precisely. It's a key enabler for their economic participation and growth.
Now, how do technological advancements in new products ironically end up helping the refurbishment industry? That sounds a bit counterintuitive.
It's a fascinating, almost symbiotic dynamic, isn't it? The trend, particularly in smartphones, but also some PCs, of new models offering only quite incremental updates.
Slightly better camera, marginally faster chip.
Exactly, minor aesthetic tweaks. It means that the previous generation of devices, once they're professionally refurbished, become increasingly attractive as a viable and economical alternative. Consumers don't always feel that compelling need to buy the absolute latest, especially when the core functionality of a good, refurbished device is perfectly adequate, and it's at a fraction of the cost.
So slower innovation cycles for new products help refurb.
In a way, yes. It lengthens the perceived useful life of older models. And this also, somewhat paradoxically, ties into that social pressure to always have the latest trend. That pressure drives a steady supply of perfectly functional, slightly older models into the refurbishment pipeline when early adopters upgrade.
And it seems the technology within the refurbishment process itself has evolved significantly too. It's not just basic repairs anymore.
Oh, far from it. The industry has advanced by leaps and bounds technologically. We're talking about sophisticated diagnostic software that can pinpoint even subtle hardware or software issues, ensuring really comprehensive assessments before repair even begins.
And data security tech.
Crucial. Secure data erasure methods like NIST-SAS, that's the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology standard, basically multi-pass overwriting to make data unrecoverable. Beyond software, there's physical destruction methods like drive degassing, using powerful magnetic fields, or even outright hard drive shredding for maximum security, addressing those critical privacy concerns.
What about the repair tech itself?
Advanced repair technologies like precision microsoldering allow for component-level repairs on circuit boards, which dramatically extends device life beyond just swapping out whole modules.
Yep.
There's even talk of nanotechnology enabling microscopic fixes to restore near-original performance to damaged circuits.
So these advancements improve quality and lifespan.
Absolutely. They ensure more consistent quality, they maximize the potential lifespan of refurbished devices, and they significantly improve the operational efficiency and scalability of the refurbishers themselves.
It also sounds like eco-friendly consumer preferences are becoming a genuinely powerful force, actually impacting purchasing decisions now.
They absolutely are. There's a rapidly growing segment of consumers, particularly Gen Z and millennials, who, remember, make up about 51% of India's population, for example, who actively seek out sustainable products.
It's not just a nice to have anymore.
No. Around 60% of Indian consumers, for instance, are reported to be actively opting for sustainable options when available. These demographics often prioritize functionality, value, and environmental impact over just the newness factor. And significantly, they're often willing to pay a bit more for genuinely sustainable choices, although refurbished usually offers savings anyway.
So this shift in consumer consciousness directly benefits refurbishment.
Powerfully, it aligns perfectly with their values.
Now, building consumer trust must be paramount in this space, especially given the historical, maybe sometimes negative perception of used electronics. How are things like warranty programs and rigorous quality certifications helping overcome that historical skepticism?
They are absolutely crucial, foundational, really, for consumer confidence and for the legitimacy of the entire professional refurbishment sector. Quality certifications are key. Things like being a Microsoft authorized refurbisher or holding that R2V3 certification.
The responsible recycling one.
Right, the highest globally recognized standard for responsible recycling and reuse. These provide independent third-party validation and assurance of processes. Then you have industry standardization efforts and those robust warranty programs.
Like 12 or 24 months.
Exactly, like the generous 12-24-month warranties now offered by leading refurbishers. They are vital for reassuring buyers about reliability and mitigating that perceived risk of buying something not new. Transparent communication about the product's condition, clear grading systems, accessible customer support, these all further enhance trust.
Turning a potentially risky proposition into a reliable one.
That's the goal.
And what about OEM promotion of refurbished products? When the original makers get involved, that must be a huge credibility boost, effectively normalizing the whole market.
It's truly a game changer. When original equipment manufacturers, the HPs, Dells, Lenovos, Apples of the world, launch their own certified refurbishment programs, or implement official trade-in and buyback initiatives, or even establish dedicated retail outlets or online stores for their own refurbished devices,
It sends a powerful signal.
it lends immense, irrefutable credibility to the entire sector. These programs typically ensure stringent quality assurance, often using original parts, and usually come with manufacturer-backed warranties. This significantly boosts consumer confidence and makes professionally refurbished products a much more mainstream, trusted option.
It's a testament to the market's viability that even the creators of new devices are actively participating.
It really is. They see the demand, they see the value, and they want a piece of that market, often while also meeting their own sustainability targets.
Finally, let's talk about first-mover advantage, especially for organized players in those highly fragmented markets like India. How important is that?
In markets where the unorganized sector still holds a large, though shrinking, share, like India, where it was 95% just a few years ago, organized players have a significant and I think rapidly closing first-mover advantage.
How do they leverage that?
By leveraging their advanced processes, implementing strict quality assurance protocols, establishing strong, reliable procurement networks, often acting as IT asset disposition, or ITAD, partners for large leasing companies, corporations, banks, and crucially, delivering consistent product quality and after-sales service.
They build trust quickly.
They can rapidly build trust and capture substantial market share from the less reliable informal sector. This strategic approach, investing in quality, process, and brand, creates quite high barriers to entry for new competitors who lack the necessary infrastructure, the capital, the certifications, and the established processes to scale effectively and gain that vital consumer confidence.
Okay, so those are the significant tailwinds and powerful growth factors really propelling this industry forward at pace. But of course, no industry is without its challenges, its inherent risks. What are the key threats and potential pitfalls for the electronics refurbishment industry that our analyst community should be keenly aware of? This is the other side of the coin.
You've hit on a critical point for any balanced strategic assessment. The primary risk, and perhaps the most persistent one mentioned in the report, is the issue of varied quality and standards.
Inconsistency between refurbishers.
Exactly. A pervasive lack of uniform, universally adopted industry standards across all providers, big and small, leads to inconsistent product quality reaching the end consumer. This can seriously undermine consumer trust, not just in one bad actor, but in the perception of the entire industry. Until robust, verifiable, universally adopted standards are in place and enforced, this remains a significant hurdle.
And given how fast technology moves, I imagine technological obsolescence is a constant threat just lurking in the background.
Absolutely. It's a constant shadow. Rapid advancements in semiconductor technology, new chip architectures emerging all the time, the continuous evolution of software demands and compatibility. These can quickly render older refurbished models less functional or simply less appealing compared to newer options.
Shortening the viable lifespan of refurbished stock.
Potentially, yes. If the performance gap between a reasonably priced refurbished device and an entry-level new one becomes too wide too quickly, it can limit the market window and appeal of those refurbished options. It makes inventory management tricky and requires refurbishers to be very agile in their sourcing and pricing. It's a constant race to keep refurbished tech relevant and competitive.
Another challenge I hear about, maybe surprisingly, is just basic lack of awareness among potential consumers. People just don't know enough about it.
This is a significant and I think often underestimated barrier to broader market adoption. A substantial portion of consumers worldwide remains simply unaware of the compelling cost savings, the quality assurance is now available, and the significant environmental benefits that professionally refurbished products offer.
So the message isn't getting through.
Not universally. This widespread lack of awareness means the industry, both individual companies and maybe trade associations, has to invest heavily and continuously in education and marketing just to shift perceptions, explain the value proposition clearly, and unlock that huge pool of untapped demand.
That ties directly into the broader issue of consumer trust and the perception of inferiority. It's a deep-seated mindset change that needs to happen, isn't it?
Precisely. There's this persistent historical belief among many consumers, maybe from a bad experience with used goods in the past, that refurbished products are inherently subpar, maybe unreliable, a compromise. This leads to skepticism about their reliability and durability compared to buying brand new.
How do you fight that perception?
It requires continuous, proactive education, demonstrating the rigorous testing involved. It requires ironclad quality assurance processes, those robust warranty programs we discussed, and maybe even showcasing positive user testimonials. It's really about changing a deeply ingrained cultural mindset about second best, not just selling a product.
And a critical concern in today's digital world, perhaps the most sensitive one for many, data security concerns.
This is absolutely paramount, non-negotiable for any reputable refurbisher. Ensuring complete, irreversible, and secure data erasure from every single device undergoing refurbishment is a major, ongoing operational challenge and responsibility.
What are the risks of getting it wrong?
Inadequate data sanitization, even an accidental oversight on one device, poses serious privacy risks for the previous user. It can lead to significant legal liabilities for the refurbisher, regulatory fines, and potentially a catastrophic erosion of confidence, both from consumers selling their old devices and from businesses looking for ITAD partners. This is why those stringent methods we talked about, NIST SAS, degaussing, shredding, combined with rigorous process certifications like ISO 2701 for information security, are absolutely essential differentiators for any organized player. Trust is everything here.
What about limited warranty? Even with improvements, it can still be shorter than for new products. Does that give consumers pause?
It certainly can. While many organized refurbishers now offer competitive warranties, sometimes matching new products, it's true that refurbished items historically often came with shorter warranties, maybe 90 days or 6 months. This can make some consumers hesitant, worrying about potential future repair costs if something goes wrong just outside that shorter window. Bridging this gap consistently, perhaps through innovative extended warranty options or insurance products, is an ongoing challenge and also an opportunity for differentiation.
And finally, the issue of availability. If you're looking for a very specific model or configuration, can you always find it refurbished?
Not always, no. And this is an inherent challenge due to the very nature of sourcing used devices. Unlike new products rolling off a predictable manufacturing line, the selection of refurbished devices can be limited and variable depending on what comes back through trade-in programs, lease returns, etc.
So your choices might be constrained.
Specific models, certain colors, particular configurations may not always be in stock at any given time. This can impact consumer choice and, in some cases, might direct demand back towards new products if the desired item simply isn't available refurbished when the customer wants it. Organized players work tirelessly to mitigate this through diverse and robust procurement networks, forecasting, and inventory management. But it remains an intrinsic factor in this market.
Okay, so we've covered the powerful tailwinds, the market dynamics, the explosive growth story, and also those very real challenges and risks. Now, let's zoom in on an innovator highlighted in the report, a company seemingly navigating and excelling in this complex space. Electronics Bazaar. They're described as a specialist in refurbishing laptops, desktops, premium smartphones,
With operations spanning India, Dubai, and the USA.
giving them access to roughly 70% of global GDP right there. What makes them particularly unique or noteworthy in this dynamic industry, according to the report?
Electronics Bazaar really stands out based on the report's analysis, primarily for its comprehensive presence across the entire value chain. This is a key strategic differentiator, and it directly addresses many of the industry risks we just discussed.
What does entire value chain mean in practice?
It means they possess extensive in-house refurbishing capabilities. This includes not just basic cleaning and testing, but complex L1 to L3 repairs.
Can you break down L1 to L3?
Sure. L1 is typically basic diagnostic screening, software loading, maybe simple parts replacement like a battery or RAM. L2 involves more complex component-level repairs on modules, maybe replacing a faulty port or screen. L3 is the really intricate stuff, detailed motherboard or circuit board repairs and micro-soldering, chip-level diagnostics. Having all that capability in-house allows for comprehensive restoration and much tighter quality control.
And they do more than just internal repairs.
Yes, beyond the functional repairs, they also offer specialized cosmetic services. Things like laser keyboard reprinting to match local languages or restore worn keys, professional painting, precision fabrication for minor casing damage, detailed cosmetic work to remove scratches and scuffs, even intricate LCD repairs like repolarization or fixing issues with the light guide plate for brightness uniformity.
So end-to-end refurbishment.
This end-to-end capability is relatively rare, especially across multiple geographies. It enables them to achieve a consistently high level of quality, both functionally and aesthetically. And they do this at scale, supported by a reported state-of-the-art 58,127 square foot facility footprint across those three key regions, India, Dubai, USA, providing significant scalability and efficient market access.
And in terms of directly addressing those big risks, we highlighted varied quality and consumer trust. How do their certifications play a role? You mentioned certifications are key.
Their certifications are definitely presented as crucial trust builders and operational benchmarks. They are a Microsoft Authorized Refurbisher, which is a significant stamp of approval. They hold R2v3 certification.
The highest standard in responsible recycling and reuse.
Exactly. Plus, multiple ISO certifications. ISO 9001 for quality management systems, ISO 14001 for environmental management, and critically, ISO 207,001 for information security management.
Covering all the bases.
Pretty much. They also hold an EPR certificate from the CPCB Central Pollution Control Board and consent to operate from the MPCB Maharashtra Pollution Control Board in India, demonstrating compliance with key local environmental regulations. These certifications aren't just badges on a website. They provide independent, verifiable validation of their rigorous processes. They directly mitigate those analyst concerns about inconsistent quality and build crucial institutional and consumer trust.
What about their sourcing? Getting a steady supply of used devices must be a massive logistical challenge and absolutely critical for achieving scale. How do they manage that?
It is indeed critical, and the report highlights this as another core strength for Electronics Bazaar. They appear to have a highly robust procurement advantage. A key part of this is serving as a trusted IT asset disposition ITAD partner for large entities like leasing companies, major IT consulting firms, and banks.
So they get predictable flows of corporate devices.
Exactly. This ensures a steady, often high-quality supply of used assets from reliable, known corporate sources, often in large batches. In addition to that, they reportedly have mature, direct relationships with original equipment manufacturers like HP and Lenovo for direct procurement of maybe end-of-lease or overstock units.
A multiple channel.
This multi-channel, multi-geography procurement network seems to be a significant strategic asset. It allows them to overcome that availability challenge that often plagues smaller, more localized players and helps ensure a diverse range of models.
And that major risk we keep coming back to. Data security. How does Electronics Bazaar tackle that head-on, according to the report?
This appears to be a core competency and a major point of differentiation highlighted for them. The report details rigorous, multi-layered data sanitization procedures. This includes software-based secure wipes adhering to recognized standards like NIST SAS. It includes physical drive degaussing for magnetic media. And for ultimate data irrecoverability, particularly for sensitive corporate clients, they offer hard drive shredding.
And certifications back this up.
Yes, their R2v3 compliance and that ISO 27001 certification specifically attest to their robust information security management systems and processes. These comprehensive measures are designed to ensure complete and secure data erasure, directly mitigating one of the most significant consumer and corporate concerns in the entire refurbishment process. It provides immense peace of mind, which is invaluable for building long-term relationships, especially with B2B clients.
Offering warranties on refurbished devices, as we discussed, is a big deal for building trust. How does Electronics Bazaar's approach here set them apart?
The report highlights this as a key differentiator. They offer what's described as an industry-leading 1 to 3 years warranty on their refurbished devices.
1 to 3 years. That's comparable to new for many products.
It is. And this is presented as a key factor in building buyer confidence and sharply differentiating them from unorganized players who typically offer minimal or no warranty. This tangible commitment to after-sales support significantly enhances customer trust and bolsters the perceived reliability and value of their products. It effectively tells the customer, we stand behind the quality of our refurbishment work.
And their pricing strategy. How competitive are they against buying new?
Their pricing strategy is positioned as extremely aggressive and compelling, directly addressing that core affordability driver we talked about. Electronics Bazaar's professionally refurbished laptops are typically available at around 1/3 the price of comparable new devices.
1/3 the price.
And other devices, like desktops or maybe smartphones, are typically priced at 35–50% of the cost of new equivalents. The report gives specific examples to illustrate this, like a Dell Latitude 7490 laptop in India offering a remarkable 73% saving compared to the new price, or a Dell Latitude 14 3000 series laptop in the US offering an astounding 75% saving. This potent economic value proposition makes them highly competitive and obviously very attractive to that vast, price-sensitive market segment across individuals, education, and businesses.
And their market leadership position, especially being noted as India's largest Microsoft-authorized refurbisher, that rounds out their story, doesn't it?
It certainly does. They are noted as India's largest Microsoft-authorized refurbisher and also positioned among the largest refurbishers of ICT devices globally by value as of March 31st, 2025. This scale, combined with their geographic reach and demonstrated operational capabilities, highlights their ability to effectively capitalize on the industry's powerful growth trends.
In terms of operational benchmarking, how does Electronics Bazaar stack up against its peers on a more global scale, based on the report?
The report suggests they lead or are highly competitive in several key aspects. They seem to stand out with the widest claimed global presence, operating directly or selling into an impressive 38 countries, compared to many competitors who might be more regionally focused.
And the warranty aspect.
Crucially, the report gets them with pioneering the concept of offering these comprehensive long-term warranties for refurbished ICT devices on a large scale. Providing that level of comfort and trust to customers was previously uncommon in the refurbished market, especially outside of OEM-certified programs. This innovative approach to building customer confidence really sets them apart as a market leader in terms of customer centricity.
And looking at their financials, the bottom line. Are they genuinely capitalizing on this growing market in terms of revenue, or is it still mostly potential?
Their financial highlights, as presented, are incredibly compelling and speak volumes about their execution and ability to capture market share. The key metric cited is their revenue growth from operations, from fiscal year 2023 to fiscal year 2025. While the global refurbished consumer electronics market overall grew at that respectable CAGR of 10.7% during roughly the same period, Electronics Bazaar's revenue from operations reportedly increased at a remarkable, almost explosive CAGR of 46.3%.
46.3% TGR.
Yes, significantly outpacing the overall market growth. This clearly demonstrates their ability not only to capture value in this expanding market, but also to scale rapidly and efficiently. They are not just participating in the growth, they appear to be aggressively growing their footprint and market share within it.
Wow, what an incredible deep dive into a truly transformative industry. Okay, to quickly recap the key takeaways for our analyst community listening in, the electronics refurbishment industry is undeniably experiencing exponential growth.
It's clearly fueled by those powerful macroeconomic tailwinds we discussed, but also by fundamentally evolving consumer preferences that simultaneous demand for both affordability and sustainability.
And crucial government support, particularly policies like EPR and right to repair, are adding serious momentum, especially in key regions like Europe and India.
Absolutely. And within this landscape, organized players are the ones really transforming the market. By focusing intensely on quality, on transparency, on investing in robust, technologically advanced processes, they're shifting refurbishment from the fringes right into the mainstream. And critically, they're earning that essential consumer trust along the way.
And while we've clearly identified the industry's inherent challenges, the persistent issue of varied quality standards, the relentless march of technological obsolescence, and those critical data security concerns,
It's equally clear, particularly looking at innovators like Electronics Bazaar, how leading players are actively and effectively mitigating these risks. Through achieving rigorous certifications, through continuous investment in advanced refurbishment techniques and secure data handling, through offering comprehensive and transparent warranty programs, and building robust, reliable procurement models.
they're systematically building that crucial consumer and corporate trust, which seems to be the absolute bedrock for long-term market acceptance and sustained growth in this sector.
Exactly. Trust is the currency here.
So, as the lines between new and refurbished continue to blur, propelled by policy mandates, undeniable environmental imperatives, and those significant economic shifts favoring value. Here's a final provocative thought for you, our analyst community, to consider for your own strategic thinking.
Okay.
What strategic innovations, maybe in reverse logistics, maybe in supply chain integration, maybe even in an entirely new consumption models like device as a service heavily featuring refurbished units, what innovations will empower refurbishment to not just complement, but to fundamentally reshape the entire consumer electronics market in the coming decade? Could it potentially alter established brand loyalties and significantly shift traditional investment priorities away from solely focusing on new device manufacturing?
That's a fascinating question. The potential for disruption is certainly there.
Something to definitely mull over. We'll leave you with that thought. Thank you for joining us on the Deep Dive.